that is spoken about only in whispers. A dark area that spawns the beginnings of urban legends. A place where anything can happen and usually does. During the light of day, it hides just outside of view. But when the sun goes down, spirits, creatures of the night, roam free, and things do go bump in the night. It is in every state and every country, and there is no escaping it, no matter how safe you feel behind your locked doors and latched windows. So we invite you to turn down the lights and turn up your radio while we join Dave Schrader and Tim Dennis, your hosts, on a journey into the darkness on the edge of town.
Good evening. Welcome to the Darkness on the Edge of Town Paranormal Radio Show right here on your home for paranormal talk every Saturday and Sunday night, 9 to midnight. I'm your host, Dave Schrader. Across the board from me, the lovely and effervescent Mr. Tim Dennis. Good evening, sir.
What's happening, Captain?
You get a little cold again, huh?
I do. I get sick every time we go to the Queen Mary.
You know why? I'm not
that?
psychic. I'm going to guess it's because you have a few drinks.
Yeah.
You're up till 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
You're up by 8 in the morning.
Oh, there's that.
And we're shaking hands and hugging 200 people for 4 days.
That's the best part.
So that I could be wrong.
No,
I would
no.
guess that would be what's causing it.
I think so.
That or the fact that sick ghosts are hacking at you.
I think so. I think that's what it is. Sick spirits are hacking up their phlegm upon my person.
Yes, we that's truly being slimed.
Yeah.
Yes, we just came back from the Queen Mary. We were out there last weekend, had a great time investigating. But I'll tell you, Tim.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody went home on Wednesday.
Yep.
I had a couple of meetings, so I stayed through and just came back yesterday, late night.
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday night, I'm walking through the ship, right? Kind of bored, lonely, nobody's left.
And you saw the ghost of Popeye.
I did. No, as I'm walking through the ship, I stumble upon some friends of ours that were there for the event. And I apologize, and I know they're listening because they wanted to hear me talk about the show tonight, and I'm horrible with names. You know how I am about that, Tom.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I the one gal's name is Marlo, and then there was this lovely couple and another gentleman. We were walking around the boat, and I said, I got to go check out the Britannia Salon, which is where we hold most of the event, is in the Britannia Salon at the front of the ship or the back of the ship.
You get a mean haircut at the Britannia Salon.
Yes, you do.
Yes, you do.
So I go in. We go into the Britannia Salon. It's pitch black. It's Wednesday night. It's about midnight. Okay. And we're on the dance floor up by the stage looking around to see, any jackets left. Patrick Burns, unfortunately, if you're listening and you found Patrick's box of 8x10s and postcards that he was signing, if you by any chance have those in your possession, you found them, Patrick Burns is looking for those. They were accidentally, I think, thrown away. So if you actually found them, if you could give us a call or an email at dave@darknessradio.com. Again, that's dave@darknessradio.com. We'd love to get those back for Patrick. But anyway, I'm walking around looking for this. We're standing up by the stage in the dark talking when all of a sudden all 4 of our heads shoot over to the side. We all look at the same time. Something is walking around. Then we start noticing things moving around the room. So now we're all kind of standing in a box so we can each see every direction in this room. And we're watching this. Dude, this was the most paranormal activity I've ever had at any location. It was like we were like reliving the day when everybody was there. Because it looked like people were standing up and moving out of chairs and moving around the pillars and walking around in the vendor area. For an hour and a half, we stood there and just watched this stuff go on.
Now, when you told me this before the show,
I was naked.
Yes, you were,
yeah.
and asking me to hold you.
Yes. Well, a man needs to be comforted.
Well,
yes.
Yeah. The first thing that occurred to me is some sort of residual energy haunting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, Bill Chappell, who was also aboard the boat and, was a creator of the Ovilus and the Paranormal Puck, he was aboard, and I'm like, God, do I call him? It's 1 o'clock in the morning. He went to bed at like 10 at night. I didn't want to, and I'm like, I'll get him up here and it'll all stop. Little did I know it would continue again for like another 45 minutes. So I didn't call him. We went back up the second night, and we were investigating in the area. We saw a couple of weird things popping around and all that. But Bill and I were talking, and I said, it's interesting that the night before I saw all that activity, some people went into the Britannia Salon and also told us, man, after everybody had left, it was like the place was alive. And I said, wouldn't that be interesting if there's like a 24-hour residual carryover? So we were catching what had happened the night before. with all the people getting up and leaving and being there. And we talked about that for a little bit. And then Bill was saying, yeah, it'd be great in this kind of environment. It's too bad we didn't know about this. So he started walking back and forth between the two pillars. And he said, it'd be interesting to come here tomorrow night at the exact same time. And he goes and see if there's just this short little fat shadow walking back and forth between these pillars. So we started laughing. But that was interesting. That was... And to be in a group of people and everybody seeing it at the same time was totally amazing to me, to just watch all this activity going around. And, we didn't have photographic, no EVP, nothing running, because we weren't there to investigate. We were just walking around. So I was totally caught off guard by it, but we had a great time. Had some interesting stuff happen, too. The paranormal puck, which Bill created. And if you guys are interested in seeing what the hell the paranormal puck or the ovilus are, you can go to darknessradio.com. I think there's links there to ghostshop.com, or I guess you could just go to ghostshop.com and cut out the middleman, huh?
There you go.
Go right to ghostshop.com. You'll see all the information. But, we've been using the ovilus on a lot of these investigations, Tim.
Yep.
I just started figuring out, I had Bill do me a tutorial on the puck while I was there. Blows the ovilus away. And it's cheaper than the ovilus. It's just the ovilus is compact. You can carry it around with you.
Right.
But the puck actually records like temperature, EMF, what sets things off. You can actually set your video, you could set your camera on top of your computer and set an alarm to it. So if anything triggers it, it'll start taking video or photographs of what's going on at the time when it's triggered. So we're asking all these questions. Well, we took into the pool area for the first night of investigations, and Bill's got the little Acer computer. It's one of those, it's small. Have you seen those things?
Yeah.
It's minute. So he's plugged it in. We're sitting up there, and they're trying to communicate with Peter, James, and the little girls, Sarah and... oh my gosh, Jackie,
yep.
Right? So they're trying to communicate, and he gets some interesting dialogue back. He types in, how many children are here? And the next thing out of it, it types back, TWO, 2. Then underneath it, it types kid equals. So there's supposedly two children's ghosts that walk in this pool. So it's pretty interesting that the computer, that the puck was picking this up. Then he said, is Peter James here? And it said, couldn't. And they're like, can you explain, what does that mean? And it says dead, period. So that was kind of intriguing that those words would come up at that time. But they were getting some really interesting hits off of that all weekend. And now the really weird thing was the next night when I went in with Bill and I was walking around, we did a little investigating. We went back down to the pool area, just the two of us, and we were in the dressing room area, which is supposedly where the vortex is. We're asking questions, but we're getting strange things. It's like it kept saying garden, gate, guardian, things like that, and Peter, it mentioned Peter James' name, did all these strange things, and then it kept mentioning St. Mark. And none of it made any sense to us. Well, the next day, just before I left, I go in for a massage at the Queen Mary before I'm getting ready to leave, right? And the gal's really nice. She's talking to me, and then she starts talking to me about her garden and how she's had it blessed. And these are all the words that were coming out on the puck. And that she's got this little guardian angel deal and blah blah blah. And that was, to me, was strange. I haven't even told Bill Chappell that part yet. So we had some great stuff. But people actually got to hear Jackie call out at the pool live again. Heard her voice. She was also singing London Bridge, and the group of people heard it and I guess caught it on recording. The guys from Planet Paranormal Investigations caught her voice talking back and forth. As a matter of fact, Bob says at one point something like, you can call me Uncle Bob, and this little girl's voice goes, no, right back at the microphone. So it was kind of an interesting little...
and then he heard drop the candy.
Yeah, exactly. Just this weird little dissertation that they got like 15, 20 minutes, I think, maybe even more, of audio of a little girl's voice bantering back and forth with them throughout the night. So had a good time. The guys, Jay and Grant, were stationed in the boiler room for most of the trip. They were experimenting with some new technology they're going to show on their show. So I'm not sure what I'm allowed to talk about. I mean, they showed it in front of 200 people, so they never said I couldn't talk about it, but they had this kind of weird-looking probe. But basically, it was like whenever you get it near like an electrical outlet, it would go bzzz, bzzz, as you moved it closer.
Yep.
So the guy Andy, who I guess created it, was standing there with Britt Griffin from Ghost Hunters TV show and from the West Coast Taps team, and they're holding it. And now here's, I'm questioning the theatrics of this whole thing. Grant's like, Dave, you got to see this thing work. Okay. I said, okay. Well, I go in and he goes, yeah, we figured out, we got him to do Morse code to tell us its name. So its name is like Steve Miller. I can't remember, but we'll call him Steve Miller, right? And he died here in the 40s, whatever. He was courting a girl and blah, blah, blah. And he goes, and he starts asking questions. Did you court her for 5 years? 4 years? 3 years? 2 years? Bzzz. And he goes, oh, great. So you courted her for 15 years? for 2 years, bzzz, and it would answer. So I'm like, well, I can't see these guys in the dark. I don't know if they have some kind of special buzzer. Right? I don't know if they're doing something. So I go, do you know things personally about us? Bzzz. I go, great. I said, what's my middle name? And I'll list off some middle names. I'll list off some names. You tell me which one it is. So I go, is it William? Is it Walter? Is it Waldo? And then I say my actual name, and it bzzz, buzzes.
Huh.
Now, I don't use my middle name. I just use the initial everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So it buzzes. Then here's the funny part, right? I go, how many kids do I have? Bzz, 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 bzz. All right, smart ass. Funny, right? I go, no, how many biological children do I have? And it buzzed exactly 5 times.
Huh.
And I said, how many of those are girls? And it buzzed 3. I said, how many of them are biologically mine? And it buzzed 2.
Huh.
To me, that was interesting.
Interesting.
So, they have some cool tools they're going to be showing up on Ghost Hunters with, and this will be, it's kind of like a different version of the K2, but I'd like to learn more about it, so hopefully we'll get more knowledge of that as the events progress. Hey, let's mention real quickly here, we lost another entertainment giant over the last few days.
Who's that?
Betty Page died.
No, really?
Yeah, she died at the age of 85.
Huh.
So she just passed away. Our thoughts and prayers are with Betty Page for a quick entrance to heaven or wherever you're off to. But with a body like that, she's got to be going to hell, don't you think? That's a pure sinful body, baby.
Didn't she flip to, wasn't she a born-again Christian?
I don't know.
I was watching some documentary on her where they speculated the reason she disappeared is she changed her lifestyle entirely.
Well, she also, from what I was understanding, she kind of cloaked herself after a while because she didn't look like hot Betty Page anymore, and she really wanted people to just have that memory of her. So when she became Fat Betty Crocker, I guess, she decided to go into hiding.
Those brownies will do it to you every time.
Get you every time. Hey, real quick, Nicole's not going to be with us tonight, but I did do a quick movie review. I'll do it real quick, and then we'll go to International News Correspondent Adrian Lee. He's live in studio. Shh. Yeah. So I got the movie P2, The New Level in Terror.
Well, if you have to pee, you can do it during the break.
Exactly. P2, it's a parking level. So the whole idea is this lady is working late in her office complex. It's Christmas Eve. She's staying on a little late. Everybody else leaves the building. And at the end of the night, she goes down, says goodbye to the security guy, goes into the parking attendant. And this guy, the parking attendant, his name is Wes Bentley in real life, right? He looks like if you took Joaquin Phoenix? Joaquin? Joaquin, that's it. Yeah, I can remember.
Dwight Yoakam Phoenix?
Yeah, Abominable Snowman Phoenix.
That guy too.
So what is it? It's Joaquin. How did you say it?
Joaquin
Phoenix. If you took him, Tobey Maguire, and Jake Gyllenhaal, and just shredded their DNA and put it together, that's what this kid looks like. So anyway, he's this really affable, kind of dopey, lovable parking lot attendant, right? And he's saying goodbye to her. She can't get her car to start. He tries to help her jump the car. Then in passing, he's like, well, it's Christmas Eve. If you're stuck here, I've made a dinner. Would you like to stay? And she kind of blows him off, and it goes downhill from there. The cab comes. She can't get out of the building because it's locked. She can't find the security guard to let her out. So she goes back down in the parking lot. The cab leaves without her. And then this guy just ends up abducting her, the parking lot attendant, and he's going to be there for 3 days. So he decides to keep her. And it's kind of how she tries to escape for the next 3 days. So it's not really horror in the sense of, monsters, scary ghost stuff. It's more of the psychological thriller edge deal. It was entertaining. If you have nothing better to do and there's something going, I'd say pop it on and watch it. It's an interesting little flick. But storyline, I'd give it 2 out of 4 stars. I'm sorry, 2 out of 4 lights.
Yeah.
For scary factor, we do the lights. How many lights would you leave on in the house?
Right.
I'd probably leave them all on just because I'd be afraid this creepy guy would try to climb in bed with me. And not because he was scary, just because he's creepy looking.
But he looks like Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah, so it looks like that. But it was, and then she, it's a lot of the typical, you know what's coming every time, right? So, but it was okay for what it was. Low budget. If you have nothing better to do and you see it on TV, it's called P2 because she's parked on the second level of the parking ramp. So they put a lot of thought into that movie for you right there, Tim.
Wow.
So again, for scare factor, I'd say a 2. For story factor, I'd give it a 2. Again, the movie's called P2, The New Level in Terror. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with International News Correspondent Adrian Lee. You're listening to the best in paranormal talk radio. Good evening. Welcome back to the Darkness on the Edge of Town Paranormal Radio Show. I'm your host, Dave Schrader. You guys got to stay with us. This evening we got an interesting show thanks to our good friend Don Schei, the paranormal publicist, has helped us get two really cool guests coming up back-to-back here, Tim. Robert Stanley is going to be with us at the 10 o'clock hour. And Robert Stanley is author of a book called Close Encounters on Capitol Hill. And he's going to talk to us about all these strange visitations that have actually happened. Dating back, they went back as far as 1850. There were actual visitations by UFOs over the state over the country's capital. I know about the famous one in 1952. They actually have photographs of it, and it was on the cover of Life Flippin' magazine. Flippin' magazine.
magazine.
So it's going to be interesting. We're going to talk to him. The guy, he looks great. He looks like we always say Michael Perry looks like a cross between Eric Idle and Paul McCartney.
Right.
This guy looks like Michael Palin.
Ooh.
So maybe we could put the two of them together and we can recreate our own Monty Python group.
Paranormal Monty Python.
Yeah, and then in hour 3, 11 o'clock hour, we have Diane Tessman is going to stop in. And I specifically did not want to know this woman's story, Tim, because it just sounds crazy, fun, and interesting, and I want to learn about her with us. Okay. But essentially, she's a noted contactee, abductee, psychic, and a channeler. And according to her, through this abduction scenarios and past regression hypnotherapy stuff, it unleashed this ability in her, and she's been, I guess, very eerily accurate with a lot of her predictions. So we're going to talk to her about some of the predictions that she's made and what's gone on. So that'll be going on throughout the show. So stay tuned with us. We're also going to give some stuff away.
Hey, that sounds like
you want to give some stuff away right now?
Oh, sure. Why not?
All right. Why don't we do this while the news is going? How about this? We have got right now tickets for, and these are run-of-the-event passes to the day the Earth stood still. Though if you call in, you will receive a pair of tickets to watch The Day the Earth Stood Still, the IMAX experience, valid at the Great Clips IMAX Theater at the Minnesota Zoo, Monday through Thursday. So the ticket's good for 2 people. I think it's 3D there, isn't it?
Well, the IMAX experience, yeah, is 3D. Not 3D, but it's close to it.
Right, no, but I think it's actually 3D at the IMAX Theater, this movie. I could be wrong. Maybe you can Google it and look it up. I know there's a bunch of movies I've been releasing to regular theaters, but are also coming out in 3D, and I thought I remembered seeing that this is one of those.
Klaatu in 3D, huh?
Yeah, how about that, huh? Yeah. So The Day the Earth Stood Still, we're going to give away, I've got 10 sets of passes for tonight, so why don't we'll open up the phone lines. If you would like to get passes for The Day the Earth Stood Still, you can go see them any Monday through Thursday, and it's out at the Great Clips IMAX Theater at the Minnesota Zoo. Give us a call right now, 651-989-5855, 651-989-5855. It's time to go across the pond.
Let's throw in the disclaimer real quick.
Okay, what's the disclaimer?
If you've won anything in the last 30 days, you're probably disqualified.
Yes, not probably, you are.
Yeah.
If you've won anything from us in the last 30 days, don't bother to call. This is only for people who are not winners. Wait, that didn't come out right then?
No, it didn't.
All right, fine. No, we've got a call coming in, so let's go. We've got Adrian Lee coming up next.
Yo, Adrian!
Now, with all the weird news from around the world, it's time for the Supernatural Stories of the Strange, International Edition. Live from London, International News Correspondent Adrian Lee.
Good evening, Mr. Lee, and welcome back to the United States.
Hi, Dave. Hello, America. Not live from London today, live from Minneapolis.
That's right, but you're still on London time because you just got in.
I am. It makes no odds to me whether you ring me at 3 in the morning or get me here this afternoon, because it's actually 3 in the morning for me at the moment.
Still,
catch up with some sleep, yeah.
It's like you're time traveling backwards in time, though, right now. Should we call you back in London and see what you've been up to for the last 6 hours?
It's a possibility. I do arrive at the time I leave, which is very strange.
Very cool, huh? Very cool. So what have we got going for us in the weird news of the world this week?
Well, I thought we could start by discussing the belated birthday present I brought you over, actually.
Yes, this is delightful. And it says so right on the tin.
Well, good to you.
I've heard about this over in England, and Adrian was kind enough to bring me a case of spotted dick.
A tin, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry, a tin of spotted dick. And it is from Heinz. Taste of home, delightful spotted dick pudding.
It is. It's a steamed pudding. They're all the rage in Britain.
And it is called spotted dick sponge
and you have
pudding.
custard as well.
That is great. Very nice stuff. Thank you. I've been looking for this. This is just going to go on my mantelpiece, and I want you to sign this for me. So I've got an autographed can of spotted dick from Adrian
you can
Lee.
sell it on eBay.
I will. Don't think I won't. Where are we off to tonight, sir?
I'd like to start in Australia, if that's possible.
Please do.
I mean, starting as ever with the bizarre and strange, and far be it from me to disappoint you. It's been quite a strange week for Australia, all in all. So let's get started. More than 130,000 inflatable breasts have been lost at sea en route to Australia. So it looks like Australia's been quite a hazardous place recently, because last week we discussed some sheep, didn't we, that went missing off the coast of Australia. A Men's Magazine was planning to include the boobs as a free gift to its January issue. I mean, I've got a question for you straight away. Where would the valve be on those to blow them up, do you think?
I don't know. But do you think the water became really nippy when they hit the water?
Ouch.
Oh, sure.
I'm just disappointed I never thought of that.
That's where the line is drawn, huh? Okay, go on.
Well, the cargo's worth about $200,000, and a spokesman said the container left the docks in Beijing 2 weeks ago but turned up empty in Sydney this week. And the magazine has been put out an alert to shipping authorities to see if they have the container, but if they don't turn up in the next 48 hours, then it'll be too late for the next issue, she said. The editor also urged anyone who has any information to come forward and contact the magazine. So unless Somali pirates have actually stolen them, it's difficult to explain where they are, she says. If anyone finds them washed up on a beach, please let us know. I mean, can you imagine being stranding on a desert island somewhere in the South Pacific for many years, and then one morning seeing a container arrive on the beach and you dance down with glee into the sand, get a large palm branch and break open that container? I mean, that's going to be a kick in the teeth right there, isn't it?
Well, it'll just make you really have to really rethink the way you make your wishes. You know, if you're a man that's stranded on a lonely island and your wish is just boy, if I could just get my hand on a beautiful pair of breasts one more time, and then you get a whole case, that would really make you rethink.
130,000 of them.
Exactly. There you go. All right.
It's going to keep you busy.
Please, where are we off to next?
Okay, and perfectly keeping with all things breast-related, police in Uganda and Africa have warned men to be aware of criminal gangs that render victims unconscious by smearing chloroform on women's breasts. The Ugandan Criminal Investigations Directorate said the gangs use the women to draw in potential male victims and then steal their possessions after they fall unconscious from inhaling the chemicals that have been rubbed on the women's chests. And this report came out on Tuesday. And we have found victims in an unconscious state, said Fred Ananga. And you find the person stripped totally naked and everything is taken from them. And the victim doesn't remember anything. He just remembers being in the act of romancing and then basically passing out from the chloroform. I mean, do you think this could be described as a booby trap, do you think?
Oh, God, yes. But here's the one problem I have with it, though. If I remember from my old Sherlock Holmes movies, the problem with chloroform is that it evaporates quickly. That's why they'd put it on the rag and hold it against the face like immediately. It wasn't like a pre-soaked rag that then they would grab. They'd always pour it on and then nail them because the chloroform would evaporate so quickly. So if you rubbed it on their breasts, wouldn't the body either absorb it or it evaporate just as quickly on the breast as it would on fabric?
Well, just to carry on this theme, surely a padded bra would there be in order, perhaps?
It's still, if it evaporates, padded bra or a chloroform, filled rag. Either way, it's gonna. I don't know.
It's obviously working because there's a large number of people that are waking up in the street stripped naked with no possessions, so something must be happening.
I don't know. I've been to New Orleans after Mardi Gras, and I've seen a lot of that too, and there was nobody with chloroform walking around, Adrian. I think it's just a lot of dumb guys getting caught and blaming it on a woman with chloroformed breasts.
Well, the police say they're looking into it.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, we have to take a quick break here. We're going to go to a break. We'll be back with more. You're listening to Darkness Radio, the best in paranormal talk radio. Good evening. Welcome back to Darkness Radio. I'm your host, Dave Schrader. Across the board from me, Tim Dennis, and special in-studio guest, international news correspondent Adrian Lee. Adrian, where else are we off to this evening in the world for the news of the weird this evening?
Right, now off to China to a man who, unlike the Australians, will not need to worry about having much time on his hands this Christmas. Xing Shen, a 42-year-old man with no arms, was recently caught driving with his feet in Beijing in China. Xing told the police that ever since he lost his arms in an industrial accident several years ago, he had to use his feet to steer the vehicle without difficulty. He says he has no arms from the elbows down. But by the way, that's some serious industrial accident, isn't it, if you lose both arms? But I mean, what set of circumstances could lead to that? I mean, can you imagine looking through the papers and seeing a vacancy has come up in a fireworks testing factory or something? Honestly. He said he has an automatic, so he doesn't need to worry about changing gears. And he says he's put a lot of practice into learning to control the steering wheel with his legs. And he says he has more care now when he's driving than before he had lost his arms. And he was actually surprised when he was arrested. And the police have actually taken him off the road, as you would think. It doesn't actually say in the report why the police pulled him over in the first place, but with one foot on the wheel and the other on the accelerator, it may have been when he had a novel idea of a way he could use his blinkers at the same time that got him into trouble, perhaps.
Maybe they thought he was an arms dealer.
This is possible. Did they look in the trunk?
I don't know.
I mean, it appears no armed people are becoming a menace to society at the moment. I mean, there was a crime wave, wasn't there, in Germany recently, about a man who walked out of an electronics shop with a TV.
I don't know if I'd call it a crime wave. One random crime. Does that make it a crime wave? I guess when you're armless, you can't call it a wave either, can you? Because that just doesn't seem fair.
You could be a single-handed crime wave if you were doing enough crimes, I guess.
You'd still, but if you have no arms, you couldn't even be single-handed.
This is true, and they couldn't take your fingerprint. Are we going to have to go through all the same jokes?
I don't think so. Why not? All right, where are we off to next?
Okay, just very briefly, I saw this again, keeping in Australia and with all things motoring related. A court in south and eastern state of Victoria in Australia has ruled that a criminally insane man convicted of killing his wife should be allowed to drive a taxi. The man killed his wife but escaped to murder convictions on the ground of insanity. The Victorian Civil and Administrative Tribunal said that he should be allowed to drive taxis. However, the State Public Transport Minister, Lynn Koski, said the law will be changed to stop people with similar backgrounds getting taxi licences. So at the moment, the Australians are allowing clinically insane people to drive their taxis around.
I don't know if you've ever been to New York, but that's not such a big thing. Here in New York, would you say that's a fair bet, Tim? In New York, I think you have to be clinically insane in order to drive a taxi.
I think most places in the U.S., yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
That just seems like a mandate, I think.
Well, I shall look forward to that experience,
yes.
no doubt. I mean, if I can continue with the taxi driver.
I wish you would.
I've got a whole plethora of stories based on taxis, and this is actually touching on the paranormal as well, you'll be pleased to know.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. A Japanese taxi driver has been arrested for fraud after allegedly carrying out 240 exorcisms on a woman who was desperate to find a husband. The driver from Nagoya blamed evil spirits for the woman's failure to find herself a man. Police say she paid him over £130,000, which is about $200,000, over a 6-year period for the exorcisms. The Mainichi Daily News said the woman gave the 48-year-old driver 500,000 yen as an initial consultancy charge, and then 23 million yen for the rest of the sessions, which, as I said before, was about $200,000. So I don't know what gifts this taxi driver has got in Japan, but he's actually claiming to do exorcisms, and he's charging vast sums of money for it.
I don't know what's more impressive, that he's able to do that, or a taxi driver that is actually capable of driving something out of you instead of driving you somewhere you don't want to be. Huh?
Again, you're on form today, aren't you?
It's all about the pun. Not much of one, but there we go. All right, where are we off to next, sir?
Well,
I got a rim shot. Wow.
I'd like one of those next time as well, if that's possible.
All right.
Cool. Staying in the land of the rising sun, but moving from exorcism to mysticism now with some economic paranormal news. An internet firm specialising in crystal balls, tarot readings and horoscopes is raking in business as the Japanese seek reassurances about the future in the midst of a global financial crisis. Fears of job cuts and an economic meltdown have boosted business in Zappalias Incorporated, which operates Japan's largest network of fortune-telling websites, including Your Fortune in 3 Months and Certain Fate. The mobile content provider posted a 61% rise in the first half of profit and is revised its profits up on Monday, and it says it's got a bright future, and it actually says that a lot of women between the ages of 20 to 34 are actually starting to use this and actually increase their profits. Registered users who pay a set monthly fee climbed 21% from a year earlier to 2.2 million at the end of October. Fortune telling has been around for thousands of years, said Zappalias spokesman Kumiko Wada. We now treat it as a bit of fun, but there is some depth there and there's some history, and people are turning to it for guidance in tough times. So the paranormal is doing quite well out of the economic collapse at the moment around the world.
Well, I would guess right now, I think that's another reason why there's such a rise in spirituality right now, and people looking for answers like this is what, coming off the heels of 9/11, now we're falling into this strange economic deal throughout the world. People are questioning their government, questioning everything that they know, and I think that's why people are looking to the change. And plus, everybody's beating the drum of 2012. Speaking of which, have you seen the commercials for the new 2012 movie? Yeah, Lisa's in there saying rock on. Yeah, it looks phenomenal. Freaky, but great. They show that, what was it, the monk running up the mountainside, and he's like banging the gong, trying to let people know, and this wave comes over the top of the Himalayas. And it's for the new 2012 movie. So I think a lot of people are kind of wondering with everything in such turmoil, I'm not surprised to see people turning to fortune tellers to get some kind of head up on what's going on financially and economically for the world. Well, Reagan used that too, didn't he, Tim? Numerologists and astrologists to try to help him.
Nancy did.
Was it Nancy? Yeah, but Mommy always shared the news with Ron.
Far be it from me to compare the two, but Hitler did the same as well, actually.
Yeah, he did pretty well for himself for a short period of time, at least, didn't he? What a jerk. How could you, that's what always blew me away is they use these things. They actually make progression using the tools of the supernatural, but people continue to try to use the supernatural in a negative light. I don't know if they've realized how many of these people that have done that have caught it, because wasn't Napoleon into strange supernatural vibe too to get into work, and they all end up taking it, getting their head knocked around at the end of the whole deal. Might not be a good deal to make that deal with the devil after all, huh?
You can only sell your soul to the devil so many times.
So it seems. Well, so far I've done it twice. Both divorces have cost me my soul, so I've got living proof of it. Where are we off to next, sir?
Well, I want to stay with the economic downturn. I've got a couple more stories actually based on this. Coming out of Sweden, a company in our house is looking to hire 20 witches to staff its phones and internet websites. The company specialises in fortunes, predictions and other advice at a price of just $2.45 a minute. The local newspaper reports that qualified candidates for the position must be experienced in contact with the other side, runes, tarots, crystals, herbs, rituals, exorcisms, meditation, personal coaching and more. Interested witches must also have a fixed telephone line and an internet connection, but can also enjoy the advantages of working from home. Queen of Blomgren, who claims the title of the top witch, says that in order to work with us, you don't only need to have certain skills, but you also have to be serious and prepared to continually develop. We have a responsibility to our customers, and therefore our witches go through an employment exam so they can see that they really can do what they say they can do. The local authority says when it comes to this type of activity described in the announcements with cards and crystals and the like, it has a lot to do with what each individual believes, and that is something that we don't have any opinion about, so we're happy for them to do that at the moment.
I'd love to be there for the testing process.
I was wondering what that included.
I don't know, but I bet sexual harassment is zero at that company, right? Because you get turned into a toad like at the drop of a hat. That's got to be insane.
I was wondering what comes on a list of things to prove that you're a witch, actually. Do you think they give you a broom and 20 minutes to fly around with?
Exactly. Oh, there you go.
Oh, there I go.
Nice.
One was going to happen sooner or later, wasn't it?
Eventually. Where are we off to
Through law
next,
of
sir?
averages. Well, just very quickly, I've been looking for some job opportunities for you, Dave, as you know here, because I know things can be tight over Christmas.
Oh, you have no idea.
On the basis that you're developing your own version of the Brady Bunch over there.
Yes.
Researchers at the University of Edinburgh are looking for people who are native English speakers, so that rules out anyone who's American, unfortunately.
Yes.
And who have had at least one paranormal experience. You need to be able to come to Edinburgh in order to participate in an extrasensory perception test and experiment, and to complete the questionnaires about your paranormal experiences, personality and well-being. The whole experiment lasts 45 minutes and you will be paid the princely sum of $8.
I'm in. All I have to do is fly over. I can get a ticket for about $500, put myself up for a few nights, and I make $8. But $8 over on your side, that's worth like 16 of our dollars, isn't it?
Yeah, unfortunately, due to the economic crisis in Britain, when I first started coming to America back in March, I could nearly get £2 to the dollar, and now I think it's something like 1.4. So slowly but surely, you're starting to be able to spend a bit more money in Britain. So if you waited a month, you'd probably be some parity there, I suspect.
No doubt. Hey, let's take our last break for this hour. We'll be back with more, and I've got some... Tim, remind me to talk about the Halloween story contest.
Okay.
Which is continuing on.
Oh, into Christmas?
That's right.
Wow.
That's how I roll.
That's how you roll.
We'll check into that when we come back. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more international news from Adrian Lee right here on your home for Paranormal Talk Radio every Saturday and Sunday night, 9 to midnight. Good evening. Welcome back to the Darkness Radio Show. You're listening to the best in Paranormal Talk Radio. We're here with you every Saturday and Sunday night, 9 to midnight. Across the board from me, I have international news correspondent Adrian Lee live in Minnesota. We've had him in studio more than I think we've been in studio this season, Tim.
Yeah, I know.
A lot of pre-recorded shows, but Adrian's here more than we are.
Well, the basis I've been here 3 times.
Yes, sadly, yes. No, folks, we do live shows. We do live shows.
We do on live shows.
We are here doing a live show this evening.
Can I just intercept then and say that doo-doo is actually Swahili for insect?
Is it?
Yes,
Very nice.
you've said insect in Swahili.
Well, and then stay tuned because at the top of the next hour, we have Robert Stanley who's going to join us. He's the author of a book called Close Encounters on Capitol Hill, talking about aliens that have made their way into Washington, D.C. restricted airspace. So we're going to be talking about that. And he started as far back as 1850, Tim. That's wild stuff, sir.
Yes, sir.
It's not 10 to 7, by the way.
No, it's not. All right, where are we off to, sir, Mr. Lee?
Okay, we are back to Britain for the weekly update on all the vast number of alien sightings that have become commonplace of late. So
Good.
A number of UFO stories for you now. Last Saturday night, a slightly luminous grey UFO was reported to the police in the historical town of Bury St Edmunds. The UFO was seen spinning and hovering over the St Edmundsbury Cathedral by a townsman. Now it has emerged that the UFO has also been seen by staff members of the cathedral. Sarah Fiswell, the cathedral visitor officer, noted the topic of the mysterious craft had come up in the staff meeting, and one of the other staff members confessed to also witnessing a rather clear UFO sighting that appears to be a classical appearance, the typical kind of saucer-shaped UFO with the portholes and so on. More interestingly, the sighting was accompanied by unusual power cuts confirmed by the cathedral administration that could not be explained by the local electricity provider. Many have claimed that these such sightings are in fact pranks by hobbyists involving flying models, yet the power cut seems to somewhat disprove this theory. It's unlikely that any hobbyist flying a model aircraft could actually pull off such a feat. But Bury St Edmunds, in the county of Suffolk, just outside of London, is regarded as one of the UK's great historical towns. And this perhaps begs the questions that perhaps visitors from outer space are interested in our history and are going on tours of places of historical significance. After all, this is not the first sighting in this area in recent months, and there's also been other sightings over Big Ben and various places around London of historical interest as well. But again, if you're going to look for witnesses for UFO sightings, the actual staff of the cathedral, obviously men of the cloth, and they've come forward to say they actually saw that, so I would be reluctant to doubt their claims on that one.
Yeah, you guys have had a huge rash of sightings. It's funny, we had actor Bruce Campbell on our show from the Evil Dead movies about, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, Tim? And he was talking, we asked him if he ever had any paranormal experiences. He said the only thing that he ever did was he was part of a hoax. He made a UFO out of a vacuum cleaner bag and candles. So he floated it up like a balloon. And he said, they caught it. People were reporting it left and right. Until it crashed, I think, on somebody's rooftop. They were able to capture it. And I told him about how many times that's happening over in your side of the world. And we were laughing about that. But yeah, that seems to be more and more. Are they finding more of those type of...
Yeah, there's two things that are happening in Britain at the moment. First of all, as you know, the government have released lots of documents due to the Freedom of Information Act. So a lot of UFO reports and sightings that the government have investigated are starting to come to light now, the ones that took place in the 70s and 80s, and I've got one of those stories coming up. And then to add to that as well, there's actually been a vast amount of activity, and I almost have to edit it down. When I talk about the UFO sightings in this particular news section, I could actually fill up the entire 40 minutes just by talking about UFO sightings, and I edit them down to the ones that I think are perhaps the most credible and the most interesting. But, I have to actually go through an editing process to narrow it down to the ones that I talk about, as we could actually do a whole show each week just on the UFO sightings over Britain.
Unbelievable. Well, where are we off to next?
Well, I just want to stay on that theme, actually, because one of the things that was interesting for me was when this report was actually published in the newspapers in Bury St Edmunds, lots of people then came forward saying they'd seen it because they didn't want to say anything beforehand. One particular person, Mrs. Marsh, said that she and a group of her friends actually watched in trance at around 10:30 p.m. as the lights travelled low in the sky from Northgate Street in Bury St Edmunds over the cathedral and the neighbouring St Mary's Church and out of sight towards Southgate Street. She said the lights were low in the sky, very bright, and seemed to be revolving. It was totally noiseless and for about 45 seconds lit up the sky, and she said it was just incredible. An amazing thing was going on in the sky outside my house, and there was amber lights. And she said it was almost like there was lights being fired up into the sky. The reports were confirmed by the police department, who said that they'd received reports at 10:45 p.m. on Saturday. And also another gentleman had said he'd seen a large object spinning in the sky from around 10 to 12 minutes, which also looked like the same UFO. So interestingly enough, after it was confirmed that the sighting took place over the cathedral, when that report came out in the local newspaper, there was then a large number of people that came forward to say they'd seen it as well over various parts of the town during the course of that hour, and the police confirmed that they'd actually had that as a report filed, and we're actually looking into that at the moment.
Very interesting. Where are we off to next, sir?
Well, very briefly, I do want to touch upon a story that's come up again due to the Freedom of Information Act that I thought was very interesting. And it says a mysterious UFO crashed in Cyprus 35 years ago, and it may have finally come to light. In the Cyprus Mail, Nathan Morley quotes British soldier Tom Clark. Obviously, we've got lots of bases in Cyprus.
Sure.
So British soldier Tom Clark said that he was woken up at around 2 a.m. by a brilliant, bluish, dazzling bright light in the sky. And he said what happened next is hard to explain. He said there was not an explosion, but we were all hit by a shockwave, and all the soldiers fell flat to the ground with this shockwave, and the light just disappeared or just went out. British UFO researcher Gary Heseltine, who edits a monthly UFO magazine in Britain, says that some of the debris was actually collected by the soldiers of this crash site who saw the UFO slam into the Troodos mountain range in Cyprus, as I said, in 1973. They were then ordered to collect the debris and put it into black plastic bags. And Mr. Clark managed to confiscate some of the small pieces of gold-tinted foil. And it says it looks very similar to the debris that was actually found at Roswell. And the soldiers were lined up after they collected the material and were told by the commanding officers not to ever talk about this and not to discuss it or interview at any point. But it's interesting for me that we've now got a story coming out of Britain via Cyprus from 1973 saying that they found similar debris to what was discovered at Roswell with the gold-tinted foil.
Very interesting. Yeah. And there seems to be more of that style. I've been watching these all these UFO specials that are popping up right now on History and Travel Channel and Discovery Channel, and there are a lot more reported sightings than I was even aware of with this exact type of debris. So I guess there's more to this than goes. Are you going to stay around for us for a little bit on the show, or do you have to get out of here and get some rest? Since
I am tempted to go and get some rest on the basis I've not slept for a couple of days, but I shall certainly be with you next Saturday for the duration, if that's okay.
That would be great. Well, thank you very much for stopping in, Mr. Lee.
Pleasure as always.
We'll look forward to talking to you again next week. You guys stay tuned. We've got a great show coming up for you. Robert Stanley's going to be next. We're going to be talking about Close Encounters on Capitol Hill. We're going to also be discussing at the 11 o'clock hour with Diane Tessman. She's a noted contactee, abductee, psychic, and a channeler. We're going to be discussing some of the experiences and amazing world that's opened up to her. She's going to share her wisdom, insights, and predictions for 2009 and beyond. If you missed any part of tonight's show or any of our past shows, you can always check out our website at ktlkfm.com. Click on Darkness Radio and the podcast page. There you can sign up and never miss another episode. Make sure that you subscribe to the XML feed. You can also check all of our past archives there. And if you want to even go further back, if you're a newer listener, go to darknessradio.com. There you'll find our website with all of our archives for the last 2.5 years. You're listening to the best in paranormal talk radio right here on 100.3 K-Talk.